It was February 21st, 2026 at 2:47 a.m. when a dream so violent, so utterly consuming, drove me from my bed and sent me racing through the darkness to the waterfall overlook deep in the rainforest preserve outside of town, and there, surrounded by the thunderous roar of water cascading 300 feet into the mist-shrouded pool below, the air thick with moisture and the scent of wet earth and ancient moss, Jesus appeared before me with tears streaming down his face and told me that millions of believers, sincere, church-going, Bible-owning believers, will be left behind, not because they don't believe, but because they've mistaken knowledge about him for actual relationship with him. Not everyone who sees this message is meant to see it. Some will scroll past, some will ignore it, but you've been marked. You've been marked by the Holy Spirit to receive this word tonight, and I need you to understand something before we go any further. What I'm about to share with you broke me, completely broke me. I wept for 3 hours after this encounter. I'm still shaking as I record this message. But first, I need to ask you something. If you're watching this right now, if you've made it past the first minute, I need you to do something for me. I need you to leave your prayer request in the comments below. Don't hold back. Whatever you're facing, financial crisis, broken marriage, prodigal children, health issues, spiritual warfare, leave it below. I'm going to pray over every single request, and I believe God is going to move powerfully through this community. And if you haven't subscribed yet, I need you to understand something. YouTube's algorithm is actively suppressing content like this. They don't want you to see messages that challenge comfortable Christianity. They don't want you to hear what Jesus is really saying to his church in this hour. So when you subscribe and hit that notification bell, you're not just supporting this channel, you're declaring that you want truth more than comfort. You're saying, I'm a true believer and I refuse to be left behind. Many of you know me as the actor who portrays Jesus in The Chosen. That role has been the greatest honor of my life, but it's also been the most terrifying responsibility I've ever carried. Because when you spend years studying the Gospels, when you immerse yourself in the words and character of Christ, when you pray daily for the Holy Spirit to help you represent him faithfully, something happens. You become sensitized to his voice. You become aware of the gap between what he actually said and what we've made him say in our comfortable Western Christianity. And what he showed me at that waterfall overlook in the pre-dawn darkness of February 21st has wrecked me. Let me take you there. I arrived at the trailhead at 2:15 a.m. I know the exact time because I checked my phone, wondering if I was losing my mind. The dream had been so vivid, so specific. In it, Jesus had been standing at the edge of a waterfall, and he was weeping. Not quiet tears, gut-wrenching sobs that shook his entire body. And he kept saying one phrase over and over, "They think they know me. They think they know me." I jolted awake with my heart hammering, drenched in sweat despite the cool night air coming through the bedroom window, and I just knew, I had to go to the waterfall, the one about 40 minutes from my house, the one I'd hiked to a few times over the years, the one that required a 2-mile trek through dense rainforest on a trail that was treacherous even in daylight. I didn't tell anyone. I just got dressed, grabbed a flashlight, and drove. The rainforest at night is a different world. My flashlight beam cut through darkness so thick it felt solid, and the sounds, God, the sounds. Insects chirping in rhythms that seemed almost mechanical, the distant calls of night birds, the rustle of unseen creatures in the undergrowth. The air was heavy, probably 75 degrees even at that hour, and within minutes of starting the hike, my shirt was clinging to my back. The trail wound upward, roots crossing the path like gnarled fingers, and I had to watch every step. Twice I nearly turned back. This was crazy, dangerous. What was I doing out here in the middle of the night because of a dream? But I kept going. The sound of the waterfall reached me before I could see it. A low rumble that grew steadily louder until it became a roar that I could feel in my chest. The trail opened up suddenly, and I found myself standing on the overlook, a rocky outcropping that jutted out over the gorge with the waterfall to my left, maybe 50 yards away, its white cascade visible even in the darkness, illuminated by starlight and the 3/4 moon that hung above the canopy. The mist from the falls drifted across the overlook in waves cool against my face, and I could taste it on my lips. Clean, pure, ancient. Below, 300 feet down, I could barely make out the pool where the water crashed, sending up clouds of spray that caught the moonlight like silver smoke. I stood there, breathing hard from the hike, wondering what I was supposed to do now, and then he was there. I didn't see him appear. One moment I was alone, and the next, he was standing at the very edge of the overlook, his back to me, looking out over the gorge. He was wearing simple clothes, a dark tunic, nothing elaborate, and his hair moved slightly in the breeze that rose up from the waterfall. My legs went weak. I'd portrayed this man for years. I'd studied his words, his character, his heart. But this was different. This was him. Actually, him. Jesus? My voice came out as a whisper, barely audible over the waterfall's roar. He didn't turn around. He just spoke, and somehow I could hear him perfectly despite the noise. Jonathan, do you know why I brought you here? I couldn't answer. My throat had closed up. He continued, still facing the waterfall. I brought you here because I need you to see what I see. I need you to feel what I feel. And I need you to tell my people, that many who think they're coming home are going to be left standing in the darkness, wondering why I never knew them. Lord, I don't understand. He turned then, and I saw his face. He was weeping. Tears streamed down his cheeks, catching the moonlight, and his expression was one of such profound grief that I felt my own eyes filling in response. They think they know me, he said, his voice breaking. They think that because they attend church, because they own Bibles, because they can recite doctrines and sing worship songs, that they know me. But Jonathan, he took a step toward me, and I could see the anguish in his eyes. Knowing about me is not the same as knowing me. The wind picked up suddenly, sending a fresh wave of mist across the overlook, and I shivered despite the warm night. I don't understand, Lord. These are believers. These are people who have faith in you. Do they? He interrupted, and there was an edge to his voice now. Not anger, but something sharper, urgency. Do they have faith in me, or do they have faith in their salvation prayer? Do they have faith in me, or do they have faith in their church membership? Do they have faith in me, or do they have faith in their theological knowledge? He moved closer, and I could smell something, it's hard to describe, like rain and bread and something else, something that made me think of my childhood, of safety, of home. Let me show you something, he said. He raised his hand, and suddenly the air between us shimmered like heat waves rising from summer pavement. An image formed, three-dimensional and vivid, hanging in the mist. I saw a church, a large, modern building with excellent lighting and a professional worship band. The sanctuary was packed, maybe 2,000 people. They were singing, hands raised, faces tilted upward. It looked like genuine worship. It looked like revival. What do you see? Jesus asked. I see people worshiping you, Lord. Look closer. The image zoomed in, and I began to see individual faces. A woman in the third row, hands raised, eyes closed, singing passionately. But as I watched, I could somehow see her thoughts, like subtitles appearing below her. She was thinking about the argument she'd had with her husband that morning. She was thinking about how she couldn't wait for church to be over so she could give him the silent treatment some more. She was thinking about how she was right and he was wrong, and she would never, ever forgive him for what he'd said. The image shifted to a man near the front, also singing with apparent passion. His thoughts, calculating a business deal, one that he knew was deceptive, one that would hurt his partner, but would net him an extra $100,000. He'd already decided to do it. He was just asking God to bless it. Another face. A teenager, hands in pockets, looking bored, thinking about the pornography he'd watched that morning and planning to watch again that night. No conviction, no repentance, just routine. Another. Not everyone. Some faces glowed with genuine connection, genuine love, genuine worship, but they were scattered, maybe 1 in 10, maybe fewer. They come every Sunday, Jesus said quietly. They sing the songs. They take notes during the sermon. They serve in the children's ministry and the parking team. They tithe, some of them. They call themselves Christians. They believe they're saved. He lowered his hand and the image dissolved into mist. But they don't know me. They've never sat with me in the quiet places. They've never wept over their sin. They've never surrendered the secret places of their hearts. They've never let me transform them. They've just joined a club, learned the language, played the part. I was trembling now, and not from the cool mist. Lord, are you saying they're not saved? He looked at me with such sadness. I'm saying that on that day, when they stand before me and say, Lord, Lord, didn't we prophesy in your name? Didn't we serve in your church? Didn't we call ourselves Christians? I will say to them, I never knew you. Depart from me. The words hit me like a physical blow. I actually staggered backward. But Lord, that's millions of people. That's why I'm weeping, he said. The waterfall roared beside us, and suddenly I understood why he'd brought me here. The waterfall, constant, powerful, unstoppable, was like his truth. It had been flowing long before I arrived, and it would keep flowing long after I left. It didn't care about my comfort or my preferences, it just was, and his truth was the same. I need you to tell them, Jesus said, stepping closer until he was right in front of me. I need you to warn them. Time is shorter than they think. The door is closing, and many, so many, are going to find themselves on the wrong side of it, not because they didn't believe I existed, but because they never actually knew me. How? I asked, my voice hoarse. How do they know if they really know you? He smiled then, but it was a sad smile. That's what I'm going to show you. But not tonight. Tonight, I just needed you to see the problem. I needed you to feel what I feel. I needed you to understand what's at stake. He reached out and placed his hand on my shoulder, and warmth flooded through me. Not physical warmth, but something deeper, something that reached into the cold, frightened places of my soul. Come back tomorrow night, he said. Same time, same place. I have more to show you. And then he was gone. Just gone. I stood there on the overlook, the waterfall thundering beside me, the mist swirling around me, and I wept. I wept for the people in that vision. I wept for the church. I wept for myself, because I realized I'd been guilty of the same thing, of knowing about him without really knowing him. I don't know how long I stood there. Eventually the sky began to lighten in the east, and I knew I needed to get back to the trailhead before full daylight. The hike down was a blur. I was operating on autopilot, my mind still at the overlook, still seeing those faces, still hearing his words. I never knew you. Listen to me. If you're still watching this, if you've made it this far, you need to understand something. This isn't entertainment. This isn't just another YouTube video to consume and forget. This is a warning from Jesus himself, delivered to me in the most supernatural encounter I've ever experienced, and I'm delivering it to you. The question you need to ask yourself right now, and I mean right now, before you click away, before you get distracted, before you move on to the next video, is this: do I actually know Jesus, or do I just know about him? Have you ever sat in silence with him, not asking for anything, just being with him? Have you ever let him search the hidden places of your heart, the places you don't show anyone, the places you're ashamed of? Have you ever truly surrendered everything, your plans, your dreams, your rights, your comfort, to him? Or have you just joined the club? I'm not trying to scare you. Actually, that's a lie. I am trying to scare you, because Jesus scared me. He scared me because he loves us too much to let us sleepwalk into eternity thinking we're fine when we're not. Tomorrow night, I'm going back to that waterfall. Jesus told me to come back, and he's going to show me more. He's going to reveal the specific things that keep believers from truly knowing him, the barriers we've erected without even realizing it. And I'm going to share every word of it with you. But I need you to do something for me right now. I need you to get alone with God tonight. Turn off your phone, turn off the TV, get somewhere quiet and ask him, honestly, vulnerably, ask him, do I really know you? Or have I been fooling myself? And then listen, actually listen. He'll answer. He always does. Leave your prayer request below. Tell me what you're struggling with. Tell me what you're afraid of. Tell me if this message is hitting you in a place you didn't expect. And subscribe, please, because what I'm going to share tomorrow night is going to challenge everything you think you know about salvation, about relationship with Christ, about what it really means to be a believer. The waterfall keeps flowing. The truth keeps flowing. And time is running out. I barely slept on February 21st. How could I? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face. Those tears, that grief, that desperate love mixed with heartbreak. I saw the faces in that church vision, people singing worship songs while their hearts were 1,000 miles away from him. I kept hearing his words echoing in my mind. I never knew you. I never knew you. I tried to go about my day normally. I had meetings, phone calls, emails to answer, but I was operating in a fog, going through the motions while my spirit was still standing on that waterfall overlook, still feeling the mist on my face, still trembling from the encounter. Around noon, I tried to eat something, but the food tasted like cardboard. My wife asked me if I was okay. I wanted to tell her everything, but the words wouldn't come. How do you explain something like that? How do you tell someone that Jesus appeared to you and revealed that millions of people who think they're saved are actually going to be left behind? She'd think I was losing my mind. Maybe I was. But at 2:30 a.m. on February 22nd, I was back in my car, driving through the darkness toward the rainforest preserve. This time, I knew I wasn't crazy. This time I knew he'd be there. The temperature had dropped slightly, maybe 70 degrees instead of 75, and there was a different quality to the air, heavier somehow, more expectant. Storm clouds had moved in during the evening, blocking out the stars and moon, and my flashlight beam seemed weaker against the absolute darkness of the forest. The hike up was harder this time. My legs were sore from the previous night, and the humidity made every breath feel thick and labored. But I pushed on, following the trail by memory as much as by sight, the sound of the waterfall growing louder with each step, calling me forward like a beacon. When I reached the overlook, the scene was dramatically different from the night before. The clouds hung low, almost touching the top of the waterfall, and the mist was so thick I could barely see 20 feet in front of me. The roar of the water seemed louder, more aggressive, and I could feel the vibration of it through the rock beneath my feet. I stood at the edge, my flashlight cutting through the mist in a weak cone of light, and I waited. "Turn it off." His voice came from behind me this time, and I spun around, my heart leaping into my throat. He was standing near the trailhead, barely visible in the darkness, just a silhouette against the slightly lighter sky. "The flashlight," he said. "Turn it off. You don't need it." My hand shook as I clicked it off, and immediately the darkness swallowed everything. I couldn't see him anymore, couldn't see the trail, couldn't see my own hand in front of my face. "Lord?" My voice sounded small and frightened. "This is how most of my people live," he said, his voice moving closer. "In darkness. They think they're in the light because they're standing near it, because they're in buildings where my name is spoken, because they're around other people who claim to know me. But they themselves are in darkness. They've never let me be their light. They've never let me illuminate the hidden places." As he spoke, a soft glow began to emanate from where he stood, growing brighter with each word until I could see him clearly. The light came from him, from his skin, his clothes, his very presence, and it pushed back the darkness in a perfect circle around us. He looked different tonight, more intense. His eyes held something I hadn't seen the night before, not just grief, but a kind of fierce determination. "Come," he said, gesturing toward the edge of the overlook. "I want to show you something." I followed him to the very edge, where the rock dropped away into the invisible gorge below. The mist swirled around us, and the waterfall thundered to our left, so close I could feel the spray on my face. "Do you see the waterfall?" he asked. "Yes, Lord." "No, you don't. You see the surface of it. You see the water falling, but you don't see what's beneath." He raised his hand, and suddenly the water became transparent. I could see through it, into it, and what I saw made me gasp. The waterfall wasn't just water, it was made up of millions upon millions of individual droplets, each one distinct, each one on its own journey from the top of the falls to the pool below. And each droplet, I could see this somehow with a clarity that defied natural vision, each droplet was a person. Some droplets fell straight and true, catching the light, his light, I realized, sparkling and pure as they descended. These hit the pool below and merged with it seamlessly, becoming part of something larger, something eternal. But other droplets, so many others, were falling erratically. Some were tumbling, spinning out of control. Some were trying to fly upward, fighting against gravity. Some were clinging to the rocks at the side of the falls, refusing to let go and complete the journey. And when these droplets hit the pool below, they didn't merge with it. They splashed and scattered and evaporated into mist, disappearing as if they'd never existed. "Do you understand what you're seeing?" Jesus asked. I couldn't speak. I just shook my head. "Every person who calls themselves a Christian is in this waterfall," he said. "Every person who has prayed a prayer, walked an aisle, been baptized, joined a church, they're all falling. They're all on the journey. But not all of them are falling the way they were designed to fall." He pointed to one of the tumbling droplets. As I watched, it came into sharp focus, and suddenly I wasn't just seeing a droplet, I was seeing a life. A man, mid-40s, successful businessman, deacon in his church, married with 3 kids. From the outside, his life looked perfect. He attended church every Sunday, led a small group on Wednesday nights, gave generously to missions. But then I saw deeper. I saw him in his office, looking at his secretary with lust, imagining scenarios he told himself he'd never act on, but he fed those thoughts, nurtured them, returned to them again and again. I saw him at home, snapping at his wife over minor irritations, holding grudges for days, refusing to apologize because he was the spiritual leader, and admitting fault would undermine his authority. I saw him in his prayer time, 15 minutes every morning, like clockwork, but his prayers were rote, mechanical, a checklist item to complete before moving on to the real business of his day. He believed he was saved. He believed he knew Jesus. He could quote scripture. He could explain the doctrine of justification by faith. He could defend the Trinity and the virgin birth and the resurrection, but he'd never let Jesus touch the dark places. He'd never surrendered his lust, his pride, his need for control. He'd built a Christian life around an unchanged heart. "What happens to him?" I whispered. Jesus' expression was grave. "He hits the pool and evaporates. On that day, he'll stand before me and say, 'Lord, didn't I serve in your church? Didn't I lead a small group? Didn't I give money to missions?' And I'll say, 'I never knew you. You knew about me. You used my name. You performed religious activities, but you never let me know you, the real you, the broken you, the sinful you. You never came to me with empty hands and a surrendered heart. You came to me with your resume." The vision shifted to another droplet, a woman this time, young, passionate, on fire for God, or so it seemed. She was at every church event, every conference, every worship night. Her social media was filled with Bible verses and worship lyrics. She raised her hands higher than anyone during worship. She cried during emotional altar calls. But then I saw her alone. I saw her scrolling through social media, consumed with envy at other people's lives, other people's ministries, other people's followings. I saw her posting those Bible verses not out of genuine overflow, but out of a desperate need for validation, checking every 5 minutes to see how many likes she'd gotten. I saw her in worship, hands raised, but her mind was on the people watching her, wondering if she looked spiritual enough, if her worship was impressive enough. She was performing. All of it was performance. And beneath the performance was a heart that had never truly been transformed, never truly surrendered, never truly encountered him in the secret place where no one was watching. "She's sincere," I protested. "She really believes." "She sincerely believes in a version of me that she's created," Jesus interrupted, "a version that exists to make her feel good about herself, to give her purpose and identity and community. But she doesn't know the real me. She's never sat in silence with me long enough to let me show her who she really is. The pride, the insecurity, the idolatry of approval. She's in love with the feeling of worship, not with me." The visions kept coming faster now. A pastor who'd built a megachurch but hadn't spent time alone with God in years, running on fumes and charisma and leadership principles from business books. A worship leader who could sing beautifully about God's presence but was secretly sleeping with his girlfriend and saw no contradiction. A missionary who'd gone to the foreign field not out of love for the lost, but out of a need to escape his problems at home and be seen as heroic. On and on and on. "Stop," I finally said, tears streaming down my face. "Please, Lord, stop. I can't take any more." The waterfall returned to normal, just water again, and Jesus turned to face me fully. The light emanating from him was brighter now, and I had to squint against it. "Do you understand now?" he asked. "Do you see the problem?" "Yes," I choked out. "But Lord, if all these people are lost, if all these sincere believers are going to be left behind, then who's actually saved? How do we know if we really know you?" He smiled then, and it was like the sun breaking through storm clouds. "Finally, that's the right question." He began to pace along the edge of the overlook, and I noticed that wherever he stepped, the rock seemed to glow faintly, as if his presence left an imprint. "Jonathan, knowing me, truly knowing me, requires 3 things that most of my people have never done. 3 things that separate those who fall straight and true from those who tumble and scatter." He held up one finger. "First, silence. Real, extended, regular silence in my presence. Not prayer lists, not worship music playing in the background, not reading devotionals, just silence. Sitting with me, waiting, listening, letting me search your heart and reveal what's really there." I thought about my own prayer life. 15 minutes in the morning, usually rushed. Always talking, always asking, rarely listening, never just sitting. "How many of my people do this?" Jesus continued. "How many actually carve out an hour, just 1 hour, to sit in silence with me? They say they don't have time. They say they're too busy, but they have time for Netflix. They have time for social media. They have time for hobbies and sports and entertainment. They just don't have time for me." The words cut deep because they were true. I was guilty of the same thing. He held up a second finger. "Second, surrender." Complete, total, ongoing surrender. Not just of the big things, the obvious sins, the public behaviors, but the small things, the secret things, the things you think don't matter, the grudges, the lustful thoughts, the pride, the gossip disguised as prayer requests, the love of money, the need for approval, the unwillingness to forgive, all of it, laid at my feet, daily. A gust of wind suddenly swept across the overlook, so strong I had to take a step back to keep my balance. The mist from the waterfall swirled around us in a vortex, and I heard something in the wind, voices maybe, or just the sound of the storm building in the distance. Most of my people have surrendered some things, Jesus said, his voice rising above the wind. They've surrendered the socially unacceptable sins. They've cleaned up their external behavior, but they're still holding on to control of their lives. They're still making their own decisions and asking me to bless them instead of asking me what I want them to do. They're still nursing wounds and refusing to forgive. They're still serving their own comfort and calling it wisdom. They're still in love with the world and trying to love me at the same time. He stepped closer, and the intensity in his eyes was almost unbearable. You cannot serve two masters. You cannot know me while holding on to the things I've called you to release. It's impossible. And yet millions are trying to do exactly that, and they wonder why they feel distant from me, why their prayers seem to bounce off the ceiling, why they have no power, no peace, no transformation. Thunder rumbled in the distance, and the first drops of rain began to fall, mixing with the mist from the waterfall. Jesus held up a third finger. Third, suffering. Willing, embrace suffering for my sake. Not just enduring hardship when it comes, but actually taking up your cross daily, dying to yourself, choosing the narrow path even when the wide path is easier, loving your enemies, forgiving those who hurt you, giving sacrificially, serving without recognition, being willing to lose everything, reputation, comfort, security, even relationships, for my sake. The rain was falling harder now, soaking through my clothes, but I barely noticed. I was transfixed by his words. This is where most people fail, he said sadly. They want me to make their lives better. They want me to bless them, prosper them, heal them, fix their problems. And I do want to bless my children, but they've made blessing the goal instead of knowing me. They've made comfort the goal instead of transformation. They've made their best life now the goal instead of storing up treasure in heaven. He reached out and placed both hands on my shoulders, and I felt that warmth again, that overwhelming sense of being fully known and fully loved. Jonathan, I'm going to ask you a hard question, and I need you to answer honestly. Not for me. I already know the answer. But for yourself. I nodded, unable to speak. Do you do these three things? Do you sit in silence with me regularly? Do you surrender everything to me daily? Do you embrace suffering for my sake willingly? The question hung in the air between us, and I wanted to say yes. I wanted to tell him that I did all those things, that I was one of the droplets falling straight and true. But I couldn't lie. Not to him. Not here. No, I whispered. Not really. Not consistently. I try, but you get busy, he finished gently. You get distracted, you get comfortable. You do enough to feel like a good Christian, but not enough to actually be transformed, not enough to actually know me. I broke then, completely broke. I fell to my knees on the wet rock, rain pouring down on me, and I wept, great heaving sobs that came from somewhere deep in my soul. I'm sorry, I gasped. I'm so sorry. I've been playing the part. I've been performing. I thought because I was portraying you in The Chosen, because I was studying your words and trying to represent you well, that I knew you. But I don't. Not really. Not the way you're describing. He knelt down beside me, and I felt his hand on my head, gentle and warm despite the cold rain. But you want to, he said softly. That's the difference. You want to know me. You're willing to see the truth about yourself. You're willing to change. That's what separates those who will enter from those who will be left behind. Not perfection, but willingness. Not arrival, but direction. He helped me to my feet, and we stood there together in the rain, the waterfall thundering beside us, the storm building overhead. Tomorrow night, he said, I'm going to show you what happens to those who refuse to do these three things. I'm going to show you the consequences, and then I'm going to show you the way forward, how to actually know me, how to fall straight and true, how to make sure you're not one of the ones left behind. Lightning flashed across the sky, illuminating the entire gorge for a split second, and in that flash I saw something that made my blood run cold. The pool at the bottom of the waterfall, it was divided. Half of it was crystal clear, glowing with that same light that emanated from Jesus, but the other half was dark, churning, and the droplets that fell into that side didn't merge with the water. They just disappeared. "Come back tomorrow," Jesus said. 3 a.m., be ready. What I show you will be harder than anything you've seen so far. And then he was gone, and I was alone in the rain, shaking from cold and fear and conviction, knowing that my life would never be the same. I'm recording this just a few hours after getting back from the waterfall. My clothes are still damp. I'm exhausted, but I can't sleep. I can't rest, because what he showed me tonight has shaken me to my core. Listen to me carefully. If you're watching this, if you've made it this far, you need to ask yourself the same question he asked me. Do you do these three things? Do you sit in silence with him regularly, not just praying at him, but actually listening, actually waiting in his presence? Do you surrender everything to him daily, not just the big sins, but the small ones, the secret ones, the ones you think don't matter? Do you embrace suffering for his sake willingly, not just enduring hardship, but actually taking up your cross, dying to yourself, choosing the narrow path? Be honest. Don't give me the answer you wish were true. Give me the answer that is true. Because here's what I'm realizing. Most of us are failing at all three. We're busy, we're distracted, we're comfortable. We're doing enough to feel like good Christians, but not enough to actually know him, and time is running out. I don't know when Jesus is coming back. I don't know when the door will close, but I know it's closer than we think. And I know that millions of people who believe they're ready are going to find themselves on the wrong side of that door, not because they didn't believe in him, but because they never actually knew him. Tomorrow night, I'm going back. He's going to show me more. He's going to show me the consequences of refusing to do these three things, and I'm going to share every word of it with you. But don't wait until tomorrow to act. Start today, right now. Turn off this video and get alone with God. Sit in silence, surrender everything. Ask him to show you the truth about your relationship with him, and leave a comment below. Tell me honestly, do you do these three things? Are you willing to start? What's holding you back? Subscribe if you haven't already, hit the notification bell, because what I'm going to share tomorrow night is going to be the most important message I've ever delivered. The waterfall keeps flowing, the rain keeps falling, and the droplets keep descending toward their destiny. Which kind of droplet are you? I didn't even try to sleep on February 22nd. What would be the point? Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that flash of lightning illuminating the divided pool, half glowing with his light, half dark and churning. I saw the droplets disappearing into the darkness. I heard his words. What I show you will be harder than anything you've seen so far. Harder than seeing millions of sincere believers tumbling toward destruction. Harder than realizing I was one of them. I spent the day in a fog of dread and anticipation. I tried to pray, but the words felt inadequate. I tried to read scripture, but I couldn't focus. My wife asked me again if I was okay, and this time I told her some of it. Not everything, but enough. She looked at me with concern and fear, and I could see the question in her eyes. Are you having a breakdown? Maybe I was. Or maybe I was finally waking up. At 2 a.m. on February 23rd, I was already in my car, driving toward the rainforest preserve. I couldn't wait any longer. The pull was too strong, the urgency too intense. I had to know. I had to see what he was going to show me. The storm from the previous night had passed, but it had left its mark. The air was cooler, maybe 65 degrees, and everything was dripping wet. The trail was muddy, treacherous, and twice I slipped and nearly fell. But I pushed on, my flashlight beam cutting through the darkness, the sound of the waterfall growing louder with each step. When I reached the overlook, I was 45 minutes early. The sky was clear now, and the stars were out in full force, thousands of them scattered across the black canvas above. The moon had set, and without its light, the stars seemed even brighter, even more numerous. The waterfall was a pale ribbon in the starlight, and the mist rose up from the gorge like smoke. I stood at the edge, breathing hard from the hike, and I waited. At exactly 3 a.m., I checked my phone. The temperature dropped suddenly, not gradually, but all at once, like someone had opened a freezer door. My breath came out in visible puffs, and I started shivering. And then he was there. But this time, he didn't appear gradually. One moment, the overlook was empty, and the next, he was standing in the center of it, and the light emanating from him was so bright I had to shield my eyes. It was like looking at the sun, and I fell to my knees instinctively, unable to stand in that presence. Jonathan. His voice was different tonight, deeper, more resonant, carrying an authority that made the rock beneath me vibrate. Are you ready to see? I don't know, Lord, I stammered. I'm afraid. Good, he said. You should be. What I'm about to show you should terrify every person who calls themselves by my name, because this is what awaits those who refuse to truly know me. He walked to the edge of the overlook, and as he moved, the light from his presence illuminated the entire gorge. I could see everything now, the waterfall in perfect detail, the pool 300 feet below, the rocks and trees and mist, and I could see what I'd glimpsed in the lightning flash the night before. The pool was divided, not by any physical barrier, but by something else, something spiritual, something that created a clear line of demarcation down the center. On one side, the water glowed with golden light, pure and clear and beautiful. On the other side, the water was black, churning, and even from 300 feet up, I could feel the cold emanating from it. Come closer, Jesus said. I crawled to the edge. I couldn't stand, my legs wouldn't support me, and I looked down into the divided pool, and I saw them, people, thousands of them, millions of them, standing in the water, or trying to. Those on the glowing side were radiant, joyful, whole. They were embracing each other, laughing, worshiping, and as I watched, more droplets fell from the waterfall and merged with them, becoming part of the light, part of the joy. But those on the dark side, oh God, help me describe this. They were screaming, thrashing, trying to swim to the other side, but they couldn't cross the line. They were reaching out, begging, pleading, and their faces, I could see their faces clearly despite the distance, and I recognized some of them. The businessman I'd seen the night before, the deacon who'd never surrendered his lust and pride. He was there, chest deep in the black water, and he was shouting, "But I served in the church. I led a small group. I gave money. Why won't you let me in?" The young woman who'd performed her faith for social media validation. She was there too, makeup running down her face, hands raised not in worship but in desperation. "I worshipped you. I posted about you. Everyone thought I was so spiritual. This isn't fair." The pastor who'd built a megachurch but hadn't spent time with God in years, the worship leader who'd sung beautifully while living in secret sin, the missionary who'd gone to the field for the wrong reasons. All of them there, all of them screaming, all of them being pulled deeper into the darkness. "Lord, please," I begged, tears streaming down my face. "Please, this is too much. I can't." "You have to see," he said, and there was steel in his voice now. "You have to see so you can warn them, so you can tell them what awaits if they continue to play at Christianity instead of actually knowing me." He raised his hand, and suddenly I was no longer on the overlook. I was standing at the edge of the pool, right at the line between light and darkness. The people in the dark water were just feet away from me, and their screams were deafening. A woman lunged toward me, her hand reaching out, her eyes wild with terror. "Please, please, tell him I believed. Tell him I went to church. Tell him I was baptized." "But did you know him?" Jesus' voice came from beside me, and I turned to see him standing there, his face a mask of grief. "Did you sit in silence with me? Did you surrender everything to me? Did you take up your cross and follow me?" "I didn't have time," she shrieked. "I was busy. I had a job, kids, responsibilities. I did the best I could." "You had time for everything else," Jesus said quietly. "You had time for television and social media and shopping and hobbies. You just didn't have time for me. You didn't make me the priority. You made me an accessory to your life instead of making your life about me." She screamed again, a sound of pure anguish, and the black water pulled her under. I turned away, but Jesus caught my arm. "No, you have to see. You have to understand what's at stake." Another man pushed forward, and I recognized him. He was a worship leader from a church I'd visited once. Talented, charismatic, passionate on stage. "Jesus," he cried out, "I led worship. I helped people encounter you. I wrote songs about you." "You wrote songs about the idea of me," Jesus replied. "You led people in emotional experiences that you called worship, but you never worshipped me yourself. You were performing. You were feeding your own need for applause and admiration. You used my name to build your own platform. But people were touched. People were moved. People were moved by the music, by the emotion, by the atmosphere you created. But I wasn't there. You never invited me in. You never surrendered your pride, your lust, your love of the spotlight. You sang about dying to self while building a monument to yourself." The worship leader's face contorted in rage and despair. "This isn't the Jesus I believed in. The Jesus I believed in was loving and accepting, and The Jesus you believed in was a fiction, Jesus interrupted, and his voice was like thunder. You created a version of me that would approve of your sin, that would overlook your pride, that would let you live however you wanted as long as you sang the right songs and said the right words. But I am not that Jesus. I am holy. I am righteous. I am the one who said, "Not everyone who says to me, 'Lord, Lord,' will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only the one who does the will of my Father." The worship leader opened his mouth to respond, but the water pulled him under too. On and on it went, person after person, each with their excuses, their justifications, their protests. I prayed the sinner's prayer. Once saved, always saved. You can't take my salvation away. I was baptized. I spoke in tongues. I cast out demons in your name. I prophesied. I went on mission trips. I tithed. I read my Bible. And to each one, Jesus responded with the same devastating truth. But you never knew me. You knew about me. You performed religious activities. You used my name, but you never surrendered your heart to me. You never let me transform you. You never made me your everything. I don't know how long I stood there, watching, listening, weeping. It felt like hours. It felt like an eternity. And the worst part, the absolute worst part, was seeing people I knew. Not just the worship leader, but others. People from churches I'd attended. People I'd worked with on The Chosen. People who seemed so spiritual, so committed, so on fire for God. All of them in the dark water, all of them screaming, all of them being pulled under. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I fell to my knees and covered my face with my hands. Please, Lord, please, I can't watch anymore. I understand. I understand what you're showing me, please. The screaming stopped. The sound of the churning water stopped. Water. Everything went silent. I lowered my hands and found myself back on the overlook. The pool below was no longer visible, just darkness and mist. Jesus was standing beside me, and the light emanating from him had dimmed to a soft glow. "Do you understand now?" he asked gently. I nodded, unable to speak. This is what awaits millions who call themselves Christians. Not because I want it, not because I'm cruel or unloving, but because they refuse to actually know me. They wanted the benefits of salvation without the cost of discipleship. They wanted heaven without holiness. They wanted me to serve their purposes instead of surrendering to mine. He sat down on the rock, and I sat beside him, both of us looking out over the invisible gorge. "Jonathan, I need you to understand something crucial," he continued. "Salvation is not a prayer you pray. It's not a doctrine you believe. It's not a church you join or a baptism you undergo. Salvation is a relationship with me, a real, living, daily relationship where you know me and I know you." "But Lord," I said, my voice hoarse from crying, "how do people know if they're really saved? How do they know if they really know you? Because I'm sure all those people in the dark water thought they were saved. They thought they knew you." He turned to look at me, and his eyes were filled with compassion. "That's the right question, and here's the answer. You know me if your life is being transformed. Not perfected, transformed. If you're becoming more like me. If you're growing in love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. If you're dying to yourself and living for me. If you're surrendering more and more of your life to my control." He stood and began to pace, and I noticed that the sky was beginning to lighten in the east. Dawn was coming. "The people in the dark water had one thing in common," he said. "They all believed they were saved, but none of them were being transformed. They were the same people year after year, same sins, same priorities, same loves, same gods. They added me to their lives like an accessory, but they never let me transform their lives from the inside out." He stopped pacing and looked directly at me. "Here's what I need you to tell them. Here's the message I need you to deliver. If you're not being transformed, you're not saved. If you're not growing in holiness, you're not saved. If you're not increasingly surrendering every area of your life to me, you're not saved. If you're comfortable in your sin, if you're making excuses for your behavior, if you're living like the world and just adding some Christian activities on top, you're not saved." The words were harsh, but his tone was pleading, desperate even. "I'm not saying you have to be perfect," he continued. "I'm not saying you won't struggle with sin. I'm not saying you won't fail, but I am saying there has to be a trajectory. There has to be growth. There has to be transformation. You have to be moving toward me, not staying in the same place year after year." Lightning flashed in the distance, not from a storm, but from the rising sun, hitting the clouds on the horizon. The sky was turning pink and gold, and the waterfall was becoming visible again in the growing light. "Let me show you one more thing," Jesus said. He walked to the edge of the overlook and gestured for me to join him. When I stood beside him, he pointed down at the pool, which was visible now in the dawn light. The division was still there, light on one side, darkness on the other. But now I could see something else. There was a bridge, a narrow bridge, barely visible, stretching from the dark side to the light side, and people were crossing it. Not many, not the majority, but some. They were crawling, struggling, weeping as they crossed. The bridge was narrow, so narrow they had to go single file, and they couldn't carry anything with them. I saw people dropping bags, suitcases, boxes as they crossed. I saw them leaving behind things they'd been clutching: money, possessions, relationships, dreams, plans. "What is that?" I asked. "Repentance," Jesus said simply. True repentance. Those are people who realized they were in the dark water, who realized they'd been fooling themselves, who realized they didn't actually know me, and they're choosing to cross over. They're choosing to surrender everything. They're choosing to actually know me instead of just knowing about me. "Can anyone cross?" I asked urgently. "Is it too late for the people in the dark water?" His expression was grave. "Right now, the bridge is still there. Right now, they can still cross, but Jonathan—" He turned to face me fully. "The bridge won't be there forever. There's coming a day when the door closes, when the bridge disappears, when it's too late, and no one knows when that day is. It could be years from now. It could be tomorrow. It could be today." The sun broke over the horizon at that moment, flooding the gorge with golden light, and the waterfall became a cascade of liquid gold. It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen. "This is why I'm weeping," Jesus said softly. "This is why I brought you here, because time is running out, and millions of people who think they're fine are actually in the dark water. And I need someone to warn them. I need someone to tell them that the bridge is still there, but it won't be forever. I need someone to tell them to cross over now while they still can." He placed his hand on my shoulder. "Will you do that for me? Will you tell them?" "Yes," I whispered. "Yes, Lord, I'll tell them." "Then go," he said. "Go and tell them everything you've seen. Tell them about the three things: silence, surrender, suffering. Tell them about the transformation that proves salvation is real. Tell them about the bridge. Tell them to cross over now, today, before it's too late." The light from the rising sun grew brighter, and Jesus began to fade into it, becoming part of the golden glow. "One more thing," his voice came, though I could no longer see him. "Tell them I love them. Tell them I'm not doing this to scare them or condemn them. I'm doing this because I love them too much to let them sleepwalk into eternity thinking they're fine when they're not. Tell them I'm standing at the end of the bridge, waiting with open arms, ready to receive everyone who will truly come to me. Tell them it's not too late, not yet, but soon, very soon, but soon." And then he was gone, and I was alone on the overlook, the sun rising over the rainforest, the waterfall cascading beside me, and the weight of his message pressing down on my shoulders like a physical burden. I'm recording this on the morning of February 23rd, just hours after the encounter. I haven't slept in 3 days. I'm exhausted. I'm emotionally wrecked. But I have to get this message out. I have to tell you what he showed me. Listen to me. Please, listen to me. If you're watching this, if you call yourself a Christian, you need to ask yourself right now, am I in the light or am I in the dark water? Don't answer based on what you want to be true. Don't answer based on a prayer you prayed 20 years ago or a baptism you underwent or a church membership you hold. Answer based on what's actually true about your life right now. Are you being transformed? Are you growing in holiness? Are you surrendering more and more of your life to Jesus? Are you doing the three things? Sitting in silence with him, surrendering everything to him, embracing suffering for his sake? Or are you the same person you were 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago? Are you comfortable in your sin? Are you making excuses for your behavior? Are you living like the world and just adding some Christian activities on top? Be honest, brutally honest, because your eternity depends on it. If you're in the dark water, if you realize right now that you've been fooling yourself, that you don't actually know Jesus, that you've just been playing at Christianity, the bridge is still there. You can still cross over, but you have to do it now, today, not tomorrow, not next week, not when it's more convenient. Now, get on your knees right now. Wherever you are, your bedroom, your living room, your car, get on your knees and cry out to Jesus. Not a formula prayer, not a sinner's prayer you memorize, but a real, desperate, honest cry from your heart. Jesus, I don't really know you. I've been fooling myself. I've been playing at Christianity, but I want to know you, really know you. I surrender everything, everything, my plans, my dreams, my sins, my comfort, my control, all of it. I'm crossing the bridge right now. Please receive me. Please transform me. Please teach me to actually know you. And then start doing the three things today, not tomorrow, today. Carve out an hour, a full hour, to sit in silence with him. Turn off your phone, turn off all distractions. Just sit, wait, listen. Let him search your heart. Surrender everything to him. Write down every area of your life where you're still holding on to control and surrender it out loud, specifically. Embrace suffering for his sake. Ask him what cross he's calling you to take up. What relationship do you need to repair? What sin do you need to confess? What comfort do you need to sacrifice? What narrow path do you need to choose? Do it today, right now, because the bridge won't be there forever. Tomorrow night, I'm going to share the practical steps, the specific, detailed plan for how to actually know Jesus, how to make sure you're not one of the ones left behind. But don't wait until tomorrow to start. Start now. Leave a comment below. Tell me honestly, are you in the light or the dark water? Are you willing to cross the bridge? What's holding you back? And subscribe, please, because what I'm going to share tomorrow night could literally save your soul. The sun is rising, the waterfall is flowing, the bridge is still there, but not for long. Cross over now, while you still can. I went back to the waterfall overlook this morning, February 23rd, around 10 a.m., in full daylight. I needed to see it again, to process what had happened over those 3 nights, to make sure I hadn't imagined it all. The hike up was different in daylight. I could see the trail clearly now, see the massive ferns lining the path, the orchids growing on the tree trunks, the brilliant green moss covering everything. The rainforest was alive with sound, birds calling, insects buzzing, the constant drip of water from the canopy above. The temperature was already climbing toward 80 degrees, and the humidity made every breath feel thick. When I reached the overlook, I stood at the edge and looked down at the pool 300 feet below. In the daylight, it was just water. Beautiful, clear, surrounded by rocks and vegetation. There was no division, no light and darkness, no screaming people, no bridge. But I knew what I'd seen. I knew it was real. I sat down on the same rock where Jesus had sat beside me just hours before, and I wept again, not from fear this time, but from gratitude, gratitude that he'd shown me the truth, gratitude that the bridge was still there, gratitude that it wasn't too late, and gratitude that he'd chosen me, broken, imperfect, struggling me, to deliver this message. I sat there for over an hour, just thinking, praying, asking God to give me the words to share with you. Because this final part is the most important. This is where I tell you exactly how to cross the bridge. This is where I give you the practical steps to actually know Jesus, not just know about him. This is where everything changes. Let me start by addressing something I know many of you are thinking. Jonathan, this is too extreme. You're scaring people. You're being legalistic. You're adding works to salvation. We're saved by grace through faith, not by sitting in silence or surrendering everything or embracing suffering. I hear you, and you're right about one thing. We are saved by grace through faith. Ephesians 2:8-9 is crystal clear. For it is by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not from yourselves. It is the gift of God, not by works, so that no one can boast. But here's what we've forgotten. Here's what modern Christianity has conveniently ignored. The very next verse, Ephesians 2:10, says, For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do. Saving faith produces works. Real faith produces transformation. Genuine salvation produces a changed life. James 2:17 says it even more bluntly. Faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. Dead faith doesn't save anyone. Jesus himself said in Matthew 7:21-23, Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. Many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name, and in your name drive out demons, and in your name perform many miracles? Then I will tell them plainly, I never knew you. Away from me, you evildoers. Did you catch that? Many people, not a few, many. people who prophesied, cast out demons, performed miracles in his name, and he says, I never knew you. Why? Because they never actually knew him. They used his name, they performed religious activities, but they never had a real transforming relationship with him. That's what Jesus showed me at the waterfall. That's the message he's desperate for his church to hear. Knowing about me is not the same as knowing me. So how do you actually know him? How do you cross the bridge from the dark water to the light? How do you make sure you're not one of the ones left behind? Let me give you the practical, specific, step-by-step plan that Jesus laid on my heart as I sat on that overlook this morning. The 30-day bridge crossing challenge. I'm calling this a challenge, but it's really more than that. It's a lifeline. It's a rescue operation. It's your opportunity to cross the bridge while it's still there. Here's what I need you to commit to for the next 30 days. From today, February 23rd, 2026, until March 25th, 2026. 30 days. That's all I'm asking. 30 days to find out if you really know Jesus or if you've just been fooling yourself. Step 1. The hour of silence. Daily, non-negotiable. Every single day for the next 30 days, you must spend 1 full hour in complete silence with Jesus. Not prayer requests, not worship music, not reading devotionals or listening to sermons. Just silence. Here's exactly how to do it. Find a place where you won't be disturbed. A bedroom, a closet, a car, a park. Anywhere you can be alone and quiet. Turn off your phone, not on silent, off. This is crucial. You cannot be interrupted. Set a timer for 60 minutes. Sit comfortably. You can sit in a chair, on the floor, on your knees, whatever works for you. Close your eyes and say one simple prayer. Jesus, I'm here. I'm listening. Search my heart. Show me what you want me to see. Speak to me. Then just sit. Wait. Listen. Your mind will wander. That's normal. When it does, gently bring it back to Jesus. Picture him sitting with you. Picture him looking at you with love. Don't expect fireworks. Don't expect audible voices. Don't expect visions, though they might come. Just expect his presence. Just expect him to begin the work of revealing who you really are and who he really is. The first few days will be hard, excruciatingly hard. You'll be bored, restless, anxious. You'll think of 1,000 things you need to do. You'll want to quit. Don't quit. By the second week, something will start to shift. You'll begin to sense his presence. You'll begin to hear his voice, not audibly, but in your spirit. You'll begin to see things about yourself you've been blind to. By the third week, you'll start to crave this time. You'll start to realize you've been starving for this kind of intimacy with him. By the fourth week, you'll be transformed. Not completely, not perfectly, but noticeably, undeniably. This is non-negotiable. If you skip a day, you start over. I'm serious. This is that important. Step 2. The daily surrender, morning and evening. Twice a day, once in the morning when you wake up, once at night before you sleep, you must do a complete surrender inventory. Here's how. Get a notebook, a physical notebook, not a notes app on your phone. Write down these categories: relationships, finances, career, work, health, entertainment, media, thought life secret, sins, unforgiveness, pride, control, future plans, past regrets. Every morning, go through each category and specifically surrender it to Jesus. Out loud, say something like, Jesus, I surrender my relationship with name to you. I release my need to control it. I release my expectations. I give you full authority over it. Jesus, I surrender my finances to you. Every dollar I have belongs to you. Show me how you want me to use it. Jesus, I surrender my thought life to you. Every lustful thought, every anxious thought, every prideful thought, I give them all to you. Transform my mind. Be specific, be honest, don't hold anything back. Every evening do the same thing, but this time confess where you took back control during the day, where you sinned, where you failed to surrender. Ask for forgiveness. Recommit to surrender. This will be painful. You'll discover how much you've been holding on to, how much you've been trying to control, but this is where transformation happens, in the daily, moment-by-moment surrender of everything to him. Step 3. The cross you carry, weekly action. Once a week, you must do something that costs you something for Jesus' sake, something that requires sacrifice, something that makes you uncomfortable. This could be reaching out to someone who hurt you and offering forgiveness, confessing a sin to someone you trust, giving sacrificially to someone in need, not just your tithe, but something that actually costs you. serving someone who can't repay you, having a difficult conversation you've been avoiding, fasting from something you love, choosing the narrow path when the wide path is easier. The key is that it has to cost you something. It has to be uncomfortable. It has to be a genuine act of dying to yourself. Jesus said in Luke 9:23, "Whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross daily and follow me." Daily. Not when it's convenient, not when it feels good. Daily. This weekly action is your practice of taking up your cross. And I promise you, as you do this consistently, you'll discover a joy and a freedom you never knew existed. You cannot do this alone. You need accountability. Here's what I need you to do. Find one person, a spouse, a friend, a pastor, someone you trust, and tell them you're doing this 30-day challenge. Give them permission to ask you hard questions. Did you do your hour of silence today? What did Jesus show you? What are you surrendering? What cross are you carrying this week? Check in with them at least once a week. Be honest, don't fake it. If you're married, do this challenge together. Sit in silence together. Surrender together. Carry your crosses together. And here's the crucial part. Leave a comment below right now committing to this challenge. Say, I'm in. I'm starting today. I'm crossing the bridge. Why? Because public commitment increases follow through. Because you need the community. Because when you stumble, and you will, you can come back to this comment section and see others who are on the journey with you. I'm going to be checking these comments. I'm going to be praying over every single person who commits. And I'm going to do this challenge right alongside you. What to expect? Let me be honest with you about what's going to happen over the next 30 days. Week 1. The resistance. You're going to face massive resistance. Your flesh is going to rebel against this. You'll be bored during the silence. You'll resent the time commitment. You'll find excuses to skip days. The enemy will throw everything at you to get you to quit. Distractions, emergencies, doubts, discouragement. Push through. This is the most critical week. If you make it through week 1, you can make it through all 30 days. Week 2. The revelation. This is when Jesus starts showing you things. Things about yourself you've been blind to, sins you've been excusing, idols you've been worshiping, areas where you've been in control instead of surrendering to Him. This will be painful. You'll be tempted to quit because it's too uncomfortable to see yourself clearly. Don't quit. This is where healing begins, in the honest acknowledgement of who you really are. Week 3, the transformation. This is when you'll start to notice changes. Your thought patterns will shift. Your desires will change. Things that used to tempt you will lose their power. You'll find yourself craving time with Jesus instead of dreading it. You'll start to experience His presence in tangible ways. This is also when people around you will start to notice. They'll ask what's different about you. Tell them. Share what Jesus is doing. Invite them to join the challenge. Week 4, the breakthrough. By the final week, you'll know. You'll know whether you really know Jesus or whether you've been fooling yourself. You'll know whether you're in the light or the dark water. And if you've been faithfully doing the 3 things, silence, surrender, suffering, you'll know you're crossing the bridge. You'll feel it. You'll see the evidence in your transformed life. And here's what I believe with everything in me. If you complete this 30-day challenge faithfully, you will never be the same. You will have crossed from death to life, from darkness to light, from religion to relationship. The deadline. Here's the urgency. You need to start today, not tomorrow, not next week, today. I'm giving you until March 25th, 2026, exactly 30 days from today, to complete this challenge. Why that date? Because Jesus impressed it on my heart as I sat at the waterfall this morning. I don't know what's significant about March 25th. I don't know if something is going to happen on that date, but I know He wants you to complete this challenge by then. Maybe it's because He's coming back soon. Maybe it's because judgment is coming. Maybe it's because the bridge is about to disappear. I don't know. But I know this. Time is running out. The sense of urgency I felt during those 3 nights at the waterfall was overwhelming. Jesus is desperate for His people to wake up, to stop playing at Christianity, to actually know Him before it's too late. So please, please don't put this off. Don't tell yourself you'll start next week or next month. Start today, right now, as soon as you finish watching this video. The warning and the promise. Let me close with both a warning and a promise because Jesus gave me both. The warning: if you ignore this message, if you continue to play at Christianity, if you refuse to do the hard work of actually knowing Jesus, you will be one of the ones left behind. You will be one of the ones standing in the dark water screaming, "But I believed, but I went to church, but I was baptized." And he will say, "I never knew you. That's not me trying to scare you. That's Jesus trying to save you." But here's the promise. If you cross the bridge, if you do these three things faithfully, if you pursue him with everything you have, he will receive you. He's standing at the end of the bridge right now with open arms, waiting for you. He loves you more than you can possibly imagine. He wants you to know him. He wants to transform you. He wants to bring you home. The bridge is still there, but it won't be forever. I went back to the waterfall one more time before I left this morning. I stood at the edge of the overlook and I prayed for everyone who would see this message. I prayed for you specifically. Yes, you, the one reading this right now. I prayed that the Holy Spirit would convict you, that he would open your eyes to see the truth about your relationship with Jesus, that he would give you the courage to cross the bridge. And as I prayed, a rainbow appeared in the mist from the waterfall. I'm not making this up. A perfect, brilliant rainbow arcing across the gorge, and I heard Jesus' voice one more time, not audibly, but in my spirit. Tell them I'm faithful. Tell them I keep my promises. Tell them the bridge is secure. Tell them to come home. So that's what I'm telling you. He's faithful. He keeps his promises. The bridge is secure. Come home. Your next steps, do these right now. Leave a comment below committing to the 30-day challenge. Say, I'm in, I'm starting today. Be specific about what you're committing to. Subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell. I'm going to be posting weekly updates throughout this 30-day period, checking in with everyone who's doing the challenge, sharing testimonies, answering questions, and providing encouragement. Share this video with everyone you know who calls themselves a Christian. I'm serious. This message needs to reach as many people as possible before it's too late. Share it on social media, text it to your friends, email it to your family, show it to your small group, play it at your church if they'll let you. Find your accountability partner today. Don't wait. Text or call someone right now and ask them to do this challenge with you. Do your first hour of silence today, not tomorrow. Today, even if it's late at night, even if you're exhausted, start today. Get your notebook and do your first surrender inventory tonight before you go to sleep. Decide what cross you're going to carry this week. What's the one thing Jesus is asking you to do that will cost you something? Do it within the next 7 days. A personal word. I want to close with something personal. Over the past 3 nights, Jesus didn't just show me the state of the church. He showed me the state of my own heart. He showed me all the ways I've been playing at Christianity instead of actually knowing him. He showed me my pride, my self-reliance, my love of comfort, my unwillingness to fully surrender. And I realized I was in the dark water too. Not completely, not entirely. But I was standing at the edge, 1 foot in the light and 1 foot in the darkness, trying to have it both ways, trying to know Jesus enough to feel good about myself, but not enough to be truly transformed. So I'm doing this challenge with you. I'm committing to the hour of silence, the daily surrender, the weekly cross-carrying. I'm crossing the bridge fully, completely, holding nothing back. Because I don't want to be one of the ones left behind. I don't want to stand before Jesus on that day and hear him say, "I never knew you." I want to hear him say, "Well done, good and faithful servant. You knew me, you loved me, you surrendered everything to me. Come home." And I want that for you too. I want it so badly that I've spent the last 3 days barely sleeping, barely eating, pouring everything I have into this message, because Jesus entrusted me with this revelation, and I will not let him down. I will not let you down. The waterfall keeps flowing. The bridge is still there. The sun is shining on the path home. But time is running out. Cross over now, today, this moment. Jesus is waiting. Before you click away, before you move on to the next video, before you get distracted by the next thing, I need you to make a decision right now. Are you in or are you out? Are you going to cross the bridge or stay in the dark water? Are you going to actually know Jesus or just keep knowing about him? The choice is yours, but you have to choose, and you have to choose now. Leave your comment, make your commitment, start your journey. And 30 days from now, March 25th, 2026, come back to this video and leave another comment telling me what Jesus did in your life. Tell me how he transformed you. Tell me how you crossed the bridge. I'll be waiting. Jesus will be waiting. The waterfall overlook in the rainforest will still be there, a reminder of where this all began, where Jesus wept over his people, where he showed me the truth, where he gave me this message to deliver to you. And the bridge will still be there too, for now, but not forever. Cross over today. Come home. Jesus loves you. I love you. And I'm praying for you right now as you make this decision. May God bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May he turn his face toward you and give you peace. And may you truly know him, not just know about him, but actually know him before it's too late. The waterfall is calling. The bridge is waiting. Jesus is standing at the other side with open arms. Go to him now.